fate for a long time, and I can't change it. I'm gonna save the multiverse so that my kids actually have a world to live in. There are no more stories about the Green Arrow to tell.
Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Arrow Season 8, aka the final season, aka, well, let's just start to get a bit sad. So we are, well, we're almost there. We are almost at the end of Arrow. Like, I am sad, but also excited. I don't know what you'd get if you mix those two emotions together, like sad, excitement. That sounds terrible, but anyway, whatever the proper name for those two, if you put them together, that is pretty much what I'm feeling pretty much every single time I think or talk about Arrow, from now until it ends. At least we got that break, so I guess you get to live in the world of Arrow for a bit longer. But really, when we think about it, this upcoming episode, which you would have just watched the trailer for, hopefully, before I started talking, that being episode 7, otherwise entitled Purgatory, should be really seen as a finale for Arrow as we know it, or at least like the last, proper episode of Arrow. As after this, we have Crisis as the next episode of Arrow. Obviously, that is not for a while. That's not till January. So we have a big break between this episode and then the next episode of Arrow, like a pretty damn big one. And then after the Crisis episode is, of course, the backdoor pilot for the spin-off show, which is episode 9. So that isn't really a proper episode of Arrow. Like, I don't even know what they're going to do there, whether it's going to have the title card of Arrow or whether they'll go with the spin-off show's title card. We'll have to wait and see. And then we have the series finale, episode 10, which is going to be very different as, well, Oliver won't be there in, like, the present, if you want to call it. And it's just going to be a very different style of episode without too much story, you would have to think. Like, the finale episode in general intrigues me the most in regards to how they handle the fallout from Crisis, as well as just wrapping up a show with, well, the legacy and status of Arrow, let's be completely honest. But of course, before we get into the rest of the video, which is pretty much breaking down the trailer and just having a bit of a chat about some stuff leading into Crisis, we will quickly go over the synopsis for episode 7, which does give us a bit more context to the episode. But of course, throughout the video, let me know all of your opinions about, this upcoming episode, what you're looking forward to the most, and even your own theories leading into Crisis. Interested in what you have to say in the comments, and of course, if you're going to enjoy it and you just want to show your support, why not drop a like on the video to do both of those? Oliver's mission takes him to Lian Yu, where he tries to ignore the repercussions of the looming crisis until he receives help from an old friend. Meanwhile, a united Team Arrow faces a recognizable villain. So the first thing from the trailer to really point out of note is the first thing in the trailer, and that's Oliver standing at the graves of all that have passed or, died on Lian Yu, or at least their bodies ended up on Lian Yu, because obviously Robert Queen's buried there, but he died out at sea, shot himself in the head. So he didn't die on Lian Yu, but he was brought here, and that's where his body is buried. Obviously, the Shadow, as amongst some other people as well, Yao Fei, many other people. Actually, Shadow, Tatiana as well, Yao Fei, Robert Queen, those 4. Is there anyone else? Because with Samantha Clayton, no, she wouldn't be buried here. Am I missing out on anyone obvious? I have a feeling I'm missing out on one of the most obvious people ever. But at the same time, I think I've gotten everyone that would have been buried there. Please let me know, because I have a feeling I'm missing out on someone so obvious, and it's actually really hurting my brain. But yeah, we'll be interested to see what this scene is in general. I don't think this is necessarily going to have flashbacks necessarily, but I think there might be a lot of reminiscing throughout this episode, especially with certain points in the NU. Like Oliver might be standing on the beach and might think about when he was saved or when he initially landed there, like him lying there with his father's body. And various things like that. So we might get a lot of reminiscing throughout this episode. I think this grave scene might be one of them. But we do hear Oliver talking to his kids about fighting his fate. And as we saw last episode, that was pretty much the main thing for Oliver to take out of that episode. Learning to accept his fate. Obviously, Quentin Lance was the big key around this because, well, he taught Oliver this lesson. Now, it is really important to know that, Oliver's really the only one that has come to terms with this. So I think it's about really pushing this amongst everyone else. I guess mainly the kids as well, just because it's their father and stuff. But it's going to be interesting to just see how Oliver acts in this episode, because as we've talked about and how Oliver is, admitted himself, he's been fighting this fate and trying to find sort of loop arounds and workarounds and stuff in regards to taking on the Monitor and everything like that. But at this point, he's like, I'm locked in. I'm not going to run away from my fate. I'm going to go with my destiny and everything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the other characters react to that as well. I think Diggle will be sweet, but the other ones might be a bit like, hey, do you have to do this? Blah, blah, blah. So, I'm intrigued to see that. It could get emotional. We'll have to wait and see. Now, as you can tell from just the trailer, and it was also just like really hinted at in the promo images that came out a couple of days before this trailer came out, I think, and that's the big battle on the Lian Yu. Now, this looks like it's going to be pretty insane, I think. Just, I wasn't really expecting this to be happening in episode 7. I thought maybe with Crisis coming, it might be a bit more somber, you know what I mean? Just building up to this epic thing. They might not do something so, well, not over the top, because I don't think this is really over the top, but so actiony, so action orientated. But there's a big battle on the NU. I'm not against it. Obviously, if you remember back to season 1, we had that pretty big, I think it was in the season 1 finale, like that pretty big battle on the NU. So maybe this is a throwback to that. I don't know. But in regards to throwbacks to season 1, who are they actually fighting? Well, as we found out from promo images, because I don't think you do see the character in the trailer, but if you just saw the trailer, you wouldn't be able to pick out that was the character. That's just the weird thing about it. Like, knowing that he's in the episode, you can pick him out in the trailer, but if you just watch the trailer by itself, you wouldn't know he's in the episode, and that's Edward Fires. So Edward Fires is back in this episode. Obviously, he's from back in season 1. He was pretty much like the flashback villain, or the flashback story villain for season 1. I mean, if you need reminding, Edward Fires was the one that shot Ya Fei in the head. He was, yeah, he was. He definitely was. I'm not dreaming that, am I? No, he definitely was. But along with Edward Fires, we obviously have his crew. They're all wearing like hood, like ski masks and stuff like that. But another character from season 1 that's showing up is actually, I guess, like the first quote unquote Deathstroke that we saw on the show. Like, he was really the first iteration in regards to the Arrowverse. And that's Billy Wintergreen. Billy Wintergreen is back. Obviously, I doubt we're going to see him without his mask on. I think he's going to have that Deathstroke mask on the entire time. But it's cool to have him back there, and it just really solidifies this like whole like flashback thing to the season 1 stuff, which I think, or the season 1 flashbacks, which I just think is awesome. We've already had some season 1 flashback stuff, or season 1 throwback stuff, but having some throwback stuff to the season 1 flashbacks, I just think is awesome. I think it's just really fitting that we end Arrow really, because as I said, this is sort of like the last proper episode at the place it all started. I just think that's so fitting. But as I alluded to before, Edward Fires did kill Ya Fei back in the season 1 flashbacks, and well, Ya Fei is in this episode. I wonder if he'll get some revenge. Now, you can sort of see him in the trailer when they're doing like the big lineup of all the heroes there. You can see him right at the end with his long hair and bare feet, but in the promo images, you get a much better look at him. But it's just, we already knew he was back here. They already confirmed that he was back because he was seen on set, so they just confirmed it anyway. Just said that Brian Mann was back coming to play the character, but it's just cool to have Ya Fei. He's been back in a couple of episodes. I think he's only been back like twice maybe since he died. But it's good to have him back for, the final season, and I guess, as I said, like the last, quote unquote proper episode of Arrow. Now, with all this stuff, does this confirm that we are time traveling to before the season 1 flashbacks, like to before Oliver arriving on Lian Yu? Is that what's happening here? Like, even before maybe like Slade and Shadow were here, or Shadow, sorry, were here? Is that what they're doing here? It's sort of hard to tell, because this could easily be just set in present day, and then the Monitor's doing some stuff to make them appear in present day, or once again, it's like another alternate reality thing. It's hard to tell at this point, because Arrow's done so many different things where it's, multiverse, some time travel, or alternate reality things. It is hard to tell exactly what is going on here. I just like to think it's time traveling, but I don't know. Have to wait and see. The issue is that all those other characters are there, and then Renee and Dinah show up as well in the trailer, and they weren't there at the end of last episode. So who knows what's going on here exactly? It's not clear. There are no more stories of the Green Arrow to tell. Now, that said, and that sort of supports what I've been saying this whole video. Like, this should be treated as a finale to the story of Arrow. Like, this is really it, and then we move into Crisis, and that's sort of like Oliver's swan song. As everything after this, I guess you can include Crisis in it, but it is sort of disconnected from Arrow, so everything after that is almost an epilogue. Like, episode 9 is the spin-off thing, and episode 10 is the finale, so it's an epilogue if you want to call it. It's not part of the main stuff, so I think this episode might be a bit of an emotional one, because I'm going to treat it like a finale. I think most of you should watch it and treat it like a finale as well, because certain things might hit you a bit more, and it's all, Arrow's always had one of those. I think the thing about Arrow is that you've always connected to the characters. The heart of the show has always been the characters. Other shows that are out there, the characters aren't really the heart, and that's where they sort of can sometimes stumble, or at least when the story isn't that interesting, the characters can't hold you in there. Arrow's always had that. You stay there and you watch the characters. They've always been the strongest part. And, this might be tough to watch. It might be a bit of a rough watch. And am I ready? I don't know. Now we also do see William and Lila in the Argus bunker throughout the promo images. Now this is on Lian Yu, like the underground bunker. Now just a question, was this always here? Like, was it there during the flashbacks, or was it built by Argus around the time of, you know, present day Deathstroke in season 2? I don't know if they ever said it. I don't know if they ever actually made it clear when it was built, or if it just was built there, you know, to put, you know, Deathstroke in there and stuff like that. Like, I think the only two people that we know of that have been held here are Deathstroke and Captain Boomerang, because if it wasn't always here, then are we in present day and the past characters are placed here? It's a bit confusing. I'm not 100% sure what's going on here, so do help me out in the comment section in regards to that, because I'm not 100% sure. But one of the major things I think a decent amount of us will be looking into for this episode, at least in the last, say, third of the episode, are any major things from the episode leading into Crisis. Like, are there any, you know, major hints? Are there any, like, I don't know, does Deagle become Green Lantern? You know, stuff like that. Is there any major, like, lead-ins in regards to that? I just mainly expect maybe some minor stuff with Oliver, and maybe like the whereabouts of certain characters throughout Crisis, because there has been one thing where maybe like the Earth 2 Laurel hasn't been seen in a lot of stuff for Crisis, even though I have said there has been limited filming for Crisis in regards to what we've seen. Like, we've seen a decent amount, but really when you look at it, you go, oh, wait, that's actually not that much in comparison to 5 episodes, of this stuff. Like, we've only seen about, I'd honestly say like maybe a 10th of it, like if less, like maybe like a 15th. So maybe they might explain some stuff around that. In regards to like final cameos, we could get one. We might get Shadow. Maybe she like surprisingly shows up. Maybe Slade's here. Maybe Slade is like a surprising cameo. Maybe not even as Deathstroke, but maybe Slade is randomly on Lian Yu as well. Who knows? We might get a surprise final cameo, but I'm excited to see how they wrap this episode up leading into Crisis as well, because we know from the Crisis teaser trailers that Oliver and Mia, and I think it's just them two, get picked up from Lian Yu. So they stay here for afterwards, or just picks up straight away from when the episode ends. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it. It shows support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we went over, and of course if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys on my next video whenever that is, and I'll catch you then. Goodbye.